Hello, I'm Will, this is Mike with the Tabletop Donkeys.
Hello.
And in this video we're looking at issue 8 of Warhammer Age of Sigmar Stormbringer magazine, which came with a Lord-Imperatant and Gryph-Hound for the Stormcast Eternals collection. As usual, we'll be looking through the magazine first, and the painting and build instructions for him, and then seeing what he can do in our game. So having a look inside the issue, we've actually got the background for the Lord-Imperatant and Gryph-Hound here. So the Lord-Imperatants are the master strategists of the Stormcast Storm Hosts. It actually explains what a Storm Host is. It's a very large military organisation broken down into smaller chambers the Stormcast Eternals are arranged into, and they're often accompanied by their faithful Gryph-Hounds. So as usual, there's tables where you can give him and his Gryph-Hound a trait, and there's some names for the Gryph-Hound here, and then some great deeds you can record. Now we're straight on to the build guide. So these are again push-fit miniatures, so you can build them without glue, but as usual we recommend glue for sturdiness. So that's them like there, and the Gryph-Hound is actually only in 3 pieces. And then we have an extended painting guide. We've got some painting techniques first of all. So it's talking about a new medium base brush that we got with this issue, and also the large base brush that if you're a subscriber to the magazine you will have got with your subscriber gift pack. So it explains the different parts of the brush, so you know what is being talked about here, and how to hold a brush. And then techniques, so thinning paints is very important because otherwise the paint is too thick and it will clog up the detail, which you can sort of see in the bottom picture there. So you take some paint out the pot with your brush and put it onto a palette, is the recommended way of doing it, and then wash the brush to get all paint out of it, so you don't get paint up into the ferrule where the bristles are held, and then add some water to your palette and thin down the paint. And then once you've thinned the paint, you dip the brush into it. Don't put too much on so that you don't get too much again into the bristles. You can twist them on the palette to keep a good point, and then apply it to the miniature. It's a good idea to brace your wrists as well while holding the model so that you don't wobble and shake too much. And then applying paint here, so apply it in several thin coats rather than in one thick one so you don't obscure the detail. And also make sure you get into difficult to reach areas or bits you can't see so easily. And now the painter guide for the actual models. So we're undercoating the Lord-Imperatant with Retributor armour for all gold, and then his base and the Gryph-Hound are undercoated with Corax White using the medium base brush. And then Corax White on the Lord-Imperatant, so Lead Belcher and Cantor Blue as usual. And Catachan Flesh for various leathery bits on him and his feathers on his cloak. Also his base and the head of the Gryph-Hound. And there they are up to this point. But then we're straight on to our game, so I'll hand you over to Mike, who will take us into that.
So we're continuing with learning rules for movement, so we're learning about combat range today. This is essentially a 3-inch area around a model where enemy units cannot move into unless they specifically charge. So you can see in this example, the Killaboss and Stabgrot cannot make a normal move to get within 3 inches of those Vindictors. They have to attempt to charge, and then once you're within the 3-inch range of an enemy unit, then your unit is in melee, or in a fight. And if a unit is in a fight, it cannot make a normal move to get out of the 3-inch range, it has to make a retreat move. So there are different types of movement that the game specifies. So a lot of them happen in the movement phase, but there are a few exceptions. So we have normal moves. This is just when a unit moves up to its move characteristic and it can't finish within 3 inches of an enemy model, but then it can essentially act normally, shooting or charging later and fighting later in the turn. Or a unit can just remain stationary, in which case it doesn't make any moves at all. Also in the movement phase, a unit can run, in which case you roll a d6 and add the result of the roll to the move characteristic, and that's how far the unit can move that turn. But if a unit runs, it cannot shoot or charge later in the turn. And then when a unit retreats, it just moves its normal movement, and it has to finish more than 3 inches away of any enemy models, so it actually gets out of the fight. And if a unit retreats, it cannot shoot or charge later in the turn either. In the charge phase, obviously, is when you declare charges, so only a unit that is more than 3 inches away from any enemies and within 12 of any enemies can declare a charge. And then also in the combat phase, we have piling in. This is the 3-inch move a unit is allowed to make when it is chosen to fight. And obviously, only units that are within 3 inches of any enemy models can be chosen to fight. This just allows them to get in range to get the maximum number of attacks. Now we can get into the background for today's game, Take and Hold. So the Killaboss Morleck has apparently retrieved a map to a key Sigmarite settlement, and the Stormcast are racing to take him down to stop him from escaping with it, while a group of Hobgrots are rushing to defend their paymaster. So we have the Killaboss and Stabgrot and 10 Hobgrot slitters facing off against our new Lord-Imperatant and Gryph-Hound and the 5 Vindictors. And you can see the battle map there. Well, on the far left and the middle circle are the Killaboss and Sabgrot and the Vindicators, and then on the top right circle are the Hobgrot Slitters, and then the bottom right circle are the Lord-Imperatant. And this game actually lasts for 5 battle rounds, so a complete battle round is when both players have had a turn, or the game ends if all the Crawl Boys or Stormcast Eternals models have been slain. So if all the Crawl Boys are slain, the Stormcast win, otherwise if all the Stormcast are slain, the Crawl Boys win. Either side hasn't been wiped out by the end of the 5th battle round, the game is actually a draw. And it does note other useful rules to look at, to have to hand when you play this game, but it's all the stuff we've had up to this point. We have the War Scrolls for the Killaboss and the Hobgrot Slitters. The Killaboss is much the same, it just notes that the Killaboss and Stabgrot act like a single model. And the Hobgrot Slitters, you can see they now have a melee weapon, which is their Slitter Knives, which have a 1-inch range. 2 attacks they hit on 4s and wound on 5s with no rend and only 1 damage. And just to note that they can have their scrap grenades as well. And you can still shoot at things even if you're in melee with them. But as it notes here, if you are within 3 of an enemy unit, you can only shoot at those units. But otherwise, the turn sequence is pretty much the same as you have up at this point. I'm not going to. And the War Scrolls for the Stormcast units, so the Vindictors are much the same. We have our new Lord-Imperatant, and he actually acts fairly similarly to the Killaboss, because he and the Gryph-Hound count as a single model. Otherwise, he has a 5-inch move, 7 wounds, so with a 3+ save. The missile weapon, his Stormcaller Baton, with an 18-inch range, d6 attacks that hit on 3s, wound on 3s, rend -1 and 1 damage. His Blessed Warhammer is exactly the same as the Killaboss's Boss Hacker, and then the Gryph-Hound's Beacon Claws have 4 attacks, hit on 3s, wound on 4s. No rend and 1 damage. And their turn sequence is the same, and once the Stormcast ends their turn, that's the end of a battle round, and you start again with the Crawl Boys. We'll set up the board and introduce you to our new Lord-Imperatant. When we set up the board, we flip the battle mat around, because I'm on this side of the table. So I have Rack's Bane Slitters, the Hobgrot Slitters at the top, at the bottom left here. Morleck facing off against Lyria's Guardians over there on the far right. And then our new Lord-Imperatant with his Gryph-Hound, we have Helio Hammerfist and Dauntless. So the Crawl Boys get to go first. So I'll come back after my movement so I can resolve the shooting phase. So I could just move the Hobgrots towards the Lord-Imperatant and throw grenades at him, but I don't think that's necessarily a good idea, because if he charges them, he's going to obliterate them. So I think they're actually going to run, try and get closer to the Killaboss and that fight over there. So they get to go an extra 3 inches, so adding on to that move of 5, they get to move 8 inches this turn, but they cannot shoot or charge later in the turn. So that 8 inches gets the Hobgrots a little bit closer to the fight, still seems awfully far away. So no shooting this turn, straight to the fight phase, where I only have Morleck to fight, so he gets to go first. Morleck has 4 attacks hitting on 3s, ooh, getting only 1. And wins on 3, it does at least.
4+ save because of his rend. No, failed, so he does kill one of the Vindictors.
And then Kneebiter's got his Shiv, that hits once, and does not wound. And the Vindictors get to fight back.
So 4 left, we've got 8 attacks back, which hit on 3s. We've got 5 hits, which wound on 3s. And that down, so there's 4 wounds.
4+ saves for Morleck. He made 3, takes a wound down to 5.
And then in my combat phase, we'll just show making a pile-in move, so these models can move up to 3 inches. They're already within weapon range, but we'll just show you what that looks like, so just move to there.
There you can see the state of the board as we go into Stormcast turn 1.
So in our movement phase, the Lord-Imperatant Helio Hammerfist has made a normal move, so he's moved just his 5 inches, which means he can still shoot. So he's going to do that at the Killaboss, because he is in 18-inch range for that. So it has an attacks characteristic of d6, so every time it's used, we roll a d6 and see what that comes up with. 5. He's hit on 3s, only 2, and they wound on 3s. Oh, just 1. -1.
So 4+ save for Morleck, he made it.
And in the charge phase, I might as well try and declare a charge with the Lord-Imperatant. Need a fairly impressive roll. Not a 3, so that's definitely not enough to get him anywhere. So then we're just on to the fighting, where it's my turn, so I can pick the Vindictors to go first. Attacks on 3s. 6 hits, wounding on 3s. Oh, 6.
Ooh, 6 4+ saves. His luck's still holding, it's only 2 to go through, down to 3 wounds. And then Morleck's hitting back, 4 attacks on 3s, that's better. 4 hits. 3s, 3 wounds.
3 4+ saves. Oh, failed 2, so that's 2 more dead.
And the Kneebiter gets a single hit. That wounds.
3+ save. Yes.
So there you can see both sides reinforcements rushing to get involved. but Morleck and Kneebiter seem to be holding their own. And we head into Cruel Boy's turn 2. So my movement phase, Morleck's going to stay in combat with the Vindictors, and the Hobgrots are actually just going to move normally, start to cut off the Lord-Imperatant, because I couldn't get them in range of the Vindictors, because the ones closest to them were being killed. So it doesn't mean they get to shoot at the Lord-Imperatant though. So the Hobgrots have 10 shots with their scrap grenades, hitting on 4s, 8 hits, wounding on 3s. There's 5 wounds in there.
5. They have round -1, so 5 4+ saves. Failed 2, so he's down to 5 wounds remaining.
So in the charge phase, the Hobgrots are going to attempt to charge. Going to need a very impressive roll to get them to where I want them to go. Oh, 10. So you can see 10 is actually enough just to get that Hobgrot on the end in range of the Vindictors, so they're going to charge over there. So the Hobgrots finish their charge like that. Probably not going to be able to get too many in, but I'm actually going to pick Morleck to fight first. I'm actually going to do some piling in. So Kneebiter can go slightly bit around there, and then Morleck can go around like that, just to make a little bit more space to get more Hobgrots in, and then they get to make their attacks. 4 attacks with the Boss Hacker, getting 2 hits, and 1 wound.
4+, yes.
And Kneebiter gets a single hit again. That wounds.
3+. No, I mean yes.
Now the Vindictors get to go.
Yes, and I think they will put all their attacks on Morleck, because although the Hobgrots haven't fought yet, they're not that dangerous. 4 attacks left, which hit on 3s, they all hit. And wound on 3s, only 2.
2 4+ saves, all failed both, Morleck's down to 1. So now the Hobgrots get to go, and I'll show the results after I've piled them in. It is worth noting that they're on 25mm bases, and 25mm is very slightly under 1 inch, so they can technically fight in 2 ranks. So there you can see the results of the Hobgrots piling in. 3 inches allows them to sort of partially envelop the Vindictors, but only about 7 of them can get in within an inch to actually fight with their slitters. These 3 at the back here aren't quite in range. So we've got 14 attacks hitting on 4s, only 5 hits that wound on 5s. We got a wound.
No rend, so a 3+ save. Yeah, fine.
Well, to be honest, I'm not expecting much out of the Hobgrots, but that's the end of Cruel Boy's turn 2, on to Stormcast turn 2.
Well, the Lord-Imperatant only moves 5 inches, so he's still quite a long way away, but I do want him to shoot because he might be able to take out the Killaboss from range. D6 shots. Oh, only 1 this time. Hits on a 3. Wounds on a 3. It does.
4+ save. No, Morleck goes down. So he gets zapped by the Stormcaller stave. And now those Hobgrots are definitely between a rock and a hard place.
And then in the charge phase, he will declare a charge. So you will need a decent number. Probably not a 7. No, a 7 is definitely not enough, so we're on to the fighting, and we will just pile this Vindictor in slightly, I suppose. Try and stop some more Hobgrots getting around the corner. And attack. 4 attacks into the Hobgrots. We hit 3 times. Winning on 3s. Oh, just 1.
Well, they only have a 6+ save with -1 rend. That's a 7+, and I can't roll a 7 on a 6+ dice. So just a Hobgrot dies. This guy, I think he's the most inconvenient. And then they get to fight again, and they get to pile in, so chappy there can get in base contact, and that guy can fit in, and that guy can just go there. And all of them are in range now, so they can all fight. 18 attacks hitting on 4s. So we've got 9 hits this time. Their pay must be on Morleck's body, so they must be trying to retrieve it. And these wound on 5s. We got 1 wound.
With a 3+ save. Yes, made it.
Well, and with that we can head straight into Cruel Boy's turn 3. There's no real point retreating, to be honest, because if the Hobgrots retreat they can't shoot, and they'll just get charged by the Vindictors at the very least. Hanging around has let us throw grenades at point blank range, so we've got 9 grenade shots hitting on 4s. Well, it is close up, there's only 2 hits. That wound on 3s, they both wound.
So we do have 2 4+ saves. Oh, we failed both, so they do actually kill 1. So that one gets some grenades in the face, and it's just Lyria left.
Yeah, and the Hobgrots get to go first in the fight phase, and I think what I'm going to do is actually pile in some of these Hobgrots around so that she can't retreat, because she physically cannot move her base past theirs. So 18 attacks once again, hitting on 4s. So 7 hits, wounding on 5s. Still, we've achieved 2 wounds.
2 3+ saves. Oh, takes a wound. But now she gets to hit back. 2 attacks back on 3s. 1 hit, wounds on 3, yes.
Kills 1. Down to 8 hobgrots.
So in my turn, the Lord-Imperatant has moved up once again, and he's now going to use his stave on the hobgrots. D6 shots, 1 again, hits on a 3, yes. Wounds on a 3, yes.
Well, that'll kill 1. Down to 7 hobgrots. Well, I'm going to take away this one just to make his charge very slightly harder.
Yep, but he will try and make one. So his charge roll is a 10. So that's definitely enough to get him within half an inch. And I'll pick him to go first because he has quite high damage potential. He has 4 attacks with his hammer, which hit on 3s. So we've got 3 hits. And they wound on 3s. No, that's only 1. But it's got rend and it does 2 damage. So it'll kill 2.
And remember, damage spills over, so that'll kill 2 hobgrots. And then the Gryph-Hound fights as well.
Gryph-Hound has 4 attacks, they hit on 3s. So 3 hits. And wound on 4s. 1, but no rend.
Alright, get a 6+ save. Ooh. Yes!
Oh.
So only 2 hobgrots die. Well, we've only got 5 hobgrots left, and they're all going to go for Lyria, see if they can finish her off. 10 attacks looking for 4s. 4 hits, wounding on 5s. 1. They're consistent at the very least.
Oh, 3+ save. No, she's fine. And she has 2 attacks back, which both hit. And wounding on 3s. Oh, yeah, 2 more dead.
Down to 3 hobgrots. Well, 3 hobgrots versus 2 Stormcast and the bird dog. As we head into Cruel Boy's turn 4. And I'm not going to run away. 3 hobgrots can take down those Stormcast easy. So straight to grenade throwing at Lyria. All 3 hits. They got their eye in. Wounding on 3s. 3 wounds.
Has to pass all her 4+ saves. Nope.
So we wipe out the Vindictors. Going to pile in the remaining 3 hobgrots. 6 attacks hitting on 4s. 3 hits, wounding on 5s. Oh, I didn't manage any. I mean, some of them add up to 5, but that doesn't count.
So we'll get 4 attacks back with the hammer. Oh, we only hit once. Wounds on a 3. Yes, so it kills 2.
Just Dauntless left.
4 attacks. Only hit twice as well. And 4s to wound. Oh, 2 wounds.
2 6s for Rack to live. No. So the hobgrots are wiped out. And with all the Cruel Boys slain, that is a Stormcast victory. It's been a while since I've said that. So you've got the little victory blurb here for the Stormcast victory. Means that the Stormcast player has shown tactical genius worthy of the Lord-Imperatant, and that they managed to keep Sigmar's people safe from future raids for now. The Oryx will inevitably return. We'll set the board up again for round 2. So we reset the board. I changed my deployment of my hobgrots a tiny little bit so they're a bit further away from the Lord-Imperatant in case he decides to go after them. This time the Stormcast are going first. They're into Stormcast turn 1.
This time the Lord-Imperatant is going to run. So again, we'll just show it. So he adds this to his movement 3, so he can go 8. So that gets into there about halfway to the main fight, which is where I'm going to send him. I'm going to ignore the hobgrots for now. But he did run, so he cannot shoot his stave. But it means we're straight to the combat phase, where I get to pick first this time. So the Vindictors will go. I've got 10 attacks on Morleck, 3s. That was only 4 hits, unfortunately. Winning on 3s, 3 wounds.
3 4+ saves. Made them all. So he's hitting back. 4 attacks with the hacker. Only 2 hits. And 3s. 2 wounds.
4s to save. Oh dear, he killed 2.
Knee bite to do a wound. He got 2 hits. Wounding on 4s. He got a wound.
3+. Yes.
Well, there's the stage of the board at the end of Stormcast turn 1. On to Cruel Boys turn 1, where I'm going to run the hobgrots. So now showing it again, they get to move an extra 4, so they can go 9. Well, they're keeping pace, roughly, with the Lord-Imperatant. Straight to the combat phase, where Morleck gets to go first. 4 attacks with the Boss Hacker, getting 2 hits once again. And 3s to wound, only getting 1 this time.
4+. No, kills another one.
And Knee Biter gets 2 hits again. He's steadily improving. Oh, he doesn't wound though. He hasn't quite grasped the basics yet.
And 4 attacks back on 3s. 3 hits wounding on 3s, all 3.
3 4+ saves. Made 1, down to 4 wounds. Well, 4 wounds apiece on the fight on the right. And we're into Stormcast turn 2.
So I think I'm going to retreat with the Vindictors, so I'll just show you how that works. So they can move their normal move, which is 5 inches, but they have to be more than 3 inches away from any enemy units. And now they can't do anything further this turn, basically. And the Lord-Imperatant has moved 5 inches forward again, going to try and take on that beast over there. And in the shooting phase, he will use his stave on him as well. But in the shooting phase, he's going to use his stave on the Hobgrots. So D6 shots, 1 again, hits on 3. No, missed. And now he will declare a charge. He rolls a 3 again, and that's a failure, so he's not going anywhere.
Well, on to Crawlboy's turn 2, where Morleck has moved to face the Lord-Imperatant. He has to stop 3 inches away, though, so he could still fail his charge. And the Hobgrots have moved up normally so that they can throw their grenades at the Lord-Imperatant, softening him up a bit for Morleck. 10 shots with grenades, hitting on 4s. 4 hits, wounding on 3s. Oh, 4 wounds. Age -1. Oh, sorry, rend -1.
So 4+ saves. Oh dear, failed 3, so he's down to 4 wounds.
And on to the charge phase. Morleck will declare a charge. Ooh, on 9, that's definitely enough. I'm not going to charge the Hobgrots, because if I do, the Lord-Imperatant will probably attack them if he lives, and smush a load of them. So Morleck's actually going to charge around the Lord-Imperatant, get a bit further away from those Vindictors, but he gets to fight first in the combat phase. 4 attacks, hitting on 3s. Oh, only 1. He's spooked by the bird dog. Wounds on a 3. He does.
4+. Yes.
Oh, and knee biter. Hits once. Oh, get it in the box. Boy wounds.
3+. Oh, did a wound.
Knee biter.
Helio Hammerfist gets to hit back. 4 attacks on 3s. Oh, he got 3 hits. Wounds on 3s. Oh, 3 wounds.
Uh-oh. Need to make 2 of these to live. Whew. Down to 2 on Morleck.
Can Dauntless do any more damage? Only hit twice. Wounds on 4s. Nothing.
Well, there's the state of the board. 2 champions locked in desperate combat as we head into Stormcast turn 3.
So in that movement phase, Lyria's Guardians, or what's left of Lyria's Guardians, are going to move up to try and be helpful. The Lord-Imperatant will stay in melee, and he will use his Storm Stave in the shooting phase. He has to shoot Morleck because he's engaged in melee. D6 shots, 4 this time. Hitting on 3s, 3, and wounding on 3s, 2.
4+. Made both.
So in the charge phase, Lyria's Guardians will try and make a charge. Needing some number of 5, probably will only get them into the boss. So that is enough to get them within half an inch of, well, knee biter in this case, but I'm staying more than 3 inches away from the Hobgrots, because if I get within 3 inches they are then in combat and could be picked to fight and can pile in and make attacks, which I don't want to happen. So we'll go to the combat phase where I'm going to use the Lord-Imperatant to fight first. 4 attacks on 3s, oh, only hit twice. Wounding on 3s, oh dear, no, they both failed. Can Dauntless redeem everything? 2 hits, wounding on 4s, all 2 wounds. No rend though.
3+. Made both. Whew. So Morleck and Kneebite are actually going to fight the Vindictors. Remember, they only count as 1 model, so they can basically fight across each other. 4 attacks from Morleck's Boss Hacker on 3s, getting 3. And 3s to wound, getting 1.
4 to save, no, does kill 1.
A Kneebiter gets a hit, and doesn't wound.
So just Lyria left, but she does get to attack. Hitting on 3s. Oh, missed.
Wow, Morleck pretty very lucky to survive around the combat there. As we head into Crawlboy's turn 3. Well, only movement in my turn is the Hobgrots moving to 3 inches away from the remaining Vindictor, but then they're going to throw their grenades at the Lord-Imperatant. 10 shots with grenades on 4s. 3 hits, wounding on 3s. 2 wounds.
2 4+ saves. Oh, he's down to 1 wound.
In the charge phase, the Hobgrots are going to try and charge. Their charge roll is a 9, that's going to be enough. The Hobgrots are going to finish their charge like that. They're not getting within an inch of the Lord-Imperatant if he survives Morleck's attack, because Morleck's going to go first, and both him and Kneebiter are going to try and finish off Helio Hammerfist. 4 attacks with Morleck's Boss Hacker on 3s, getting 3 hits. And 3s to wound, getting 2.
2 4+ saves. No, he's dead. So I think the game is up for Lyria here actually, so she's just going to attack Morleck, see if she can take him down. 2 attacks on 3s, they both hit. And no, only 1 wound.
4+ save. Oh, you got 20 attacks from all the wicked slitters from the Hobgrots, looking for 4. 8 hits, wounding on 5s. 3!
3 3+ saves. Oh, takes a wound.
Well, that's the end of Crawlboy's turn 3. Lyria is going to have another chance to finish off Morleck.
Yes, and she will take it.
As we head into Stormcast turn 4.
So straight to the combat phase, we'll do 2 attacks on Morleck. And we only hit once, so not going to kill him. Did wound.
And save. Oh, failed. Down to 1. Guess I'll do Morleck first. He gets 3 hits. And 3 wounds.
No, she's dead.
So that will be a Crawlboy's victory this time. So we can look at the outcome of a Crawlboys victory. So the Crawlboys hack at the wounded Stormcast as they are teleported back to Aesir and just sort of revel in the joy of combat. Can't wait to fight them again. But I think we'll leave that for you. We'll leave all the gameplay there and recap these games for you now. So those were the games for issue 8 of Warhammer Age of Sigmar Stormbringer magazine. How did you think those went?
Well, fairly well, I suppose. I mean, oddly, the one you went first, I won, and the one I went first, you won. I think that was partly because the one I went first, I was in a great position to do well, and the Lord-Imperatant had a rubbish round of ranged attacks and then failed his charge. And then he got swarmed by everything and died, so...
Yeah, that was pretty good thing, and it brought Morleck over towards the Hobgrots as well.
Like, the standard game where you get to go first, you do have the choice, I suppose, of trying to throw grenades at him to soften him up or run at full speed towards the main combat. I think the Killaboss can generally beat the Vindictors, so you could try and hold up the Lord-Imperatant and the Hobgrots, I guess.
Yeah, and it's probably what might even be worth. If the Stormcast go first, it might actually be worth retreating the Vindictors straight away, just so they don't take any casualties to the Killaboss, because they're probably unlikely to kill him in one round of melee. Whereas I think if you retreated them when the Crawlboys go first, they're just going to get stuck in a cycle of getting charged and chopped at. And we got to see how effective the Hobgrot slitters are. Or ineffective they are in melee. I don't think they rolled well, but I don't expect them to do very much damage at all, and they're going to die very quickly against Stormcast in melee because they don't get any armor save, and they only have one wound, so they're going to get squished very quickly.
I mean, having said that, they didn't roll well. I think they consistently rolled below average despite needing 4s to hit with both their shooting and their melee. Their shooting can be quite dangerous, though, I think. Just that rend on it means that... Yeah,
they range attack is dangerous, although it is very short range and they're not terribly fast either. And if they're in range to throw grenades, they're in range to be charged, is the issue.
I think once we get to bigger games, you're going to want them behind something else so they can throw grenades without too much risk of being charged in return, because the danger in this game is you throw grenades at the Lord-Imperatant and then he charges in and smashes them all to bits with his big hammer.
He's pretty good at zapping them with his stave as well. So something to hold him up so he can't shoot. It's not really the right art. Morleck basically carried me in the second games. I think he killed all of the Stormcast. So, it's not too surprising, but just not the right army to get the most out of the Hobgrots. We saw the Lord-Imperatant. I think he has a bit of new model syndrome. I would say one-on-one, he should be able to take the Killaboss, just because his extra range attack can do a lot of damage.
Yeah, he's got an extra wound. His companion is better in melee than the Stabgrot is. His range attack is actually quite long ranged as well. 18 inches is not bad in Age of Sigmar.
Yeah, I do think he is meant to be more of like a commander, so you can have him sit him at the back and still get a lot out of him.
Yeah, and when we get his full rules, he does have rules that improve your army and the units around him as well. He's not just a melee combatant.
It is a pretty cool model, and it is it's from the... I can't remember exactly what the second level of the starter set is, but it is nice to actually get some more models from that set as well. If you search him on the Games Workshop store, you have to find that. Right, and if you just search Lord-Imperatant, I don't think it actually shows up with anything, which is a bit confusing. Fairly easy to put together, and probably fairly complicated to paint, but not at the... With the number of paints we have, it's still fairly simple to follow his painting scheme.
Yeah, he's got a few more textures and different areas on him compared to the Stormcast we've had so far. But yeah, his pose he definitely knows he's important. Standing on a rock, being very dramatic and pompous about it. But
he has more than just a tactical rock. He has tactical plinth.
Yeah. So, but yeah, it is a pretty good, nice model. And I suppose we also learned a bit more about moving, and that's broadly the actual rules for the whole movement phase there. I don't think there's much more to be added.
Yeah, I don't think there's anything else. But essentially all the rules. There is some quirks to piling in. Normally you can only go towards the closest model, which I believe is the case in Age of Sigmar, but it's changed it. So that's the one niche. But you can see, even in a game this small, there's some room for strategy of where you charge models in so you can get the most out of piling in, or you can... And I think the most important rule is the combat range. That can limit where you charge, and there is risks to charging in amongst a big group of enemy units. You're going to pull them all in, so you do need to show a bit of thought about where you go.
And also with retreating from combat, obviously you can't shoot or charge or do anything else really, so it does mean that if you can get enemy units tied down in combat that they don't want to be in, then it does limit what they can do in later turns as well if they don't want to stay in melee. So we'll see more of that, I guess, tactically as the magazine progresses.
Yeah. Although there are exceptions to some of those rules as well, but obviously we'll learn those in the future as well. But otherwise, I don't think there's too much more to say about these games or this issue. If you like this content, do leave a like and subscribe. And as always, let us know how you've been getting on if you've been getting Stormbringer as well. We've been the Tabletop Donkeys, and we'll see you in the next one.
Bye for now.